Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Just Add Misplay. Today we're going over my Kryptik TCG tournament deck. Now, I'm calling this deck the Astrid Aggro deck. As a disclaimer, I went with aggro during the tournament. I've been playing trading card games for a very long time, and I feel like with new metas, a lot of times aggro decks actually have a bit of an advantage because the meta isn't figured out yet. It's quick to end games, and some control decks or decks that aren't really developed completely aren't sure how to handle certain aggro decks. I playtested this deck for about a week, a little bit over a week, against a mid-range undead deck, and it was doing really well, so I had a lot of confidence in this deck. Unfortunately, in the actual tournament, the first few rounds were actually best of ones, so I didn't even get a chance to use my sideboard or anything, but I had such a great time. It was a lot of fun. My first opponent was actually another content creator. His name is Matsouka. I'll put a link to his channel in the description below. Go ahead and check it out. He's got like pack openings right now, and I think he might actually be uploading our match for this May 7th tournament. So go ahead and swing by his channel and give him a thumbs up. I can honestly say, as a new content creator, a little bit of encouragement goes a long way. But without further ado, let's jump right into our deck list. So I built a 40 card deck. That is the minimum for the Kryptik TCG rules. You can build up to 100 cards or have 100 cards in your deck. I did not want to go that route. I wanted to have my deck be very consistent. So the very bare minimum card amount, which is 40, I wanted to throw in this deck. My main strategy for this deck is to get creatures on the board and swing at that 11-year row and just hopefully end the game quickly. In playtesting, I was ending the game around turn 4 or 5, so I was really confident in this deck. All the citizens in this deck cost 1 or 2 resources to play. By keeping the resource cost low, you can get a lot of citizens on the field to swing at that 11-year row and hopefully end the game quickly. During playtesting, I was ending the game around turns 4 or 5. The first card in our deck we're going to talk about today is Lorelei. Lorelei is a 2-drop that whenever you discard a card, she actually gains unblockable, which is great because you can just swing straight through the opponent's citizens and hit that 11-year card. You'll see later on in the deck, I actually added cards that support her ability. So a lot of cards that will probe 1, which means draw a card and then discard a card because it will trigger her ability, make her unblockable, and it also filters through your deck. So it's a really sweet synergy. The next card in our deck is Einar. He is unblockable. He also cannot block, but it doesn't matter. You're running an aggro deck. You don't want to block. You want to keep swinging. You want to keep hitting that 11-year row and end the game as soon as possible. So Einar and Lorelei both have a little bit of evasion on them. I have one more card in the deck that has evasion. It is a 1-drop citizen. His name is Flannigan. He looks like a little troll because he is. We have 3 copies of him in the deck. He's really good early game and late game because of that tenacious ability. That ability makes it so that he has to be blocked by at least 2 creatures or else he goes through. So that evasion's really nice. Again, end the game, hit those 11-year cards. Another strong 1-drop in the deck is Clio. It is a 1-drop blue citizen with Eager. Now, Eager is important for any aggro deck. It makes it so that the citizen that you play this turn can swing and attack the turn it comes out. It also has like the element of surprise attached to it a little bit. Up next, we got 4 cards to help control the board. First, we have Weiland. He is a 1-drop citizen that you can engage, which is like tapping him, and sacrifice him to bounce one of your opponent's citizens. It's good to get him on the board as early as possible, and then later on, you can use him as a way to make it so that your eager citizens can push through. Up next, we have my man, Orpheus. He's probably my favorite card in the game right now. He's a 2-drop with a sweet ability. Whenever he hits the island, he gets to engage an opponent's citizen. and then whenever he attacks, he gets to do it again. This is really good for helping your other citizens to get through to those 11-year cards. It seems really good, especially in an aggro build. Up next, we have Imposed Sovereign. This is essentially a spell that's like Weiland. It costs 2, and it bounces an opponent's citizen to get it out of the way so that your citizens can hit that 11-year row. And now we have a spell version of Orpheus, my man. We have Clapped in Irons. So this spell costs 2, and it will engage an opponent's citizen, and they actually will not disengage for the rest of the game, or I guess as long as they're on the island. It really helps to control the board and get their citizens swinging. Up next, we got the kill spells, Infinity Blade and Capital Punishment. Now, both of these are really good. We got 3 copies of each in the deck. I will say, Capital Punishment can be linear. If your opponent's not playing any citizens that cost 2 or less, or even 3 or less, this could just be a dead card in hand. But wait, this is Kryptik TCG. There are no dead cards in hand. You slap that bad boy in your soul row, and then it gives you mana. It's like, it fixes that problem. And real quick side note, speaking of problems, during the tournament, I actually had a problem where this was in my hand and my opponent wasn't playing any citizens that cost less than 4. So it was just a dead card as far as casting it goes. So I threw it in the soul row once I caught on to what my opponent was doing, and once I noticed that they had no small citizen drops for the game. But again, these are kill spells, help clear the board, get your attackers through. Up next, we're going to talk about Hand Disruption. I have 1 copy of Due Process in the deck. Now, this is just a personal favorite for me. I like playing cards that disrupt my opponent's hand. And there's only 1 copy in the deck because I wasn't sure how great it would be. You know, like trade 1 card for a card. It worked out in play testing, and it's also nice that if it ends up being in your 11-year row and your opponent attacks it, it can mess up their strategy for the rest of their turn because you get to play it for free for 0 as its 11-year cost. I think it's great for aggro decks. It just keeps applying that pressure, and it can feel really good when you have a board set up and you're disrupting their hand and they're kind of just scrambling around trying to figure out what to do. The next 2 cards in the deck are Synergies with Lorelei. Up first, we're going to have Svend. It can be a white or a blue in your soul row, which is nice because it helps balance out the deck if you need a certain type of soul color. On top of that, Svend is a creature, so it can apply pressure later on, and it also has Sidestep, which is a form of evasion. It can only be blocked by other creatures with Sidestep. Sidestep is one of those small details that can easily be overlooked, but can end up helping you win games. Her second ability triggers often. You're playing an aggro deck with a bunch of citizens, and a lot of times you will have 3 citizens on the field, including Svend, and you'll get the Probe 1. That Probe 1 is again an additional synergy with Lorelei, which really helps close the game. And the last card in the deck is Archaism. This is another white-blue in your soul row, which helps balance the colors you need when you need them. And on top of that, it costs 0 if it's in your 11-year row, so it can synergize and give you that Probe 1, maybe help filter through your deck at the cost of 0 resources. Going into the sideboard, we have 3 copies of Eros. Now, he is a citizen that costs 2, that you can sacrifice him and engage him to counter a spell. This is great to help protect your citizens against board wipes or any removal spells. It also adds another blue to your soul row if you need it, and it gives you another citizen on the board just in case. Then we have 3 copies of Trivialize. It costs 1 resource. It can count as white or blue in your soul row. It turns an opponent's citizen into a 4/4. Up next, we have 3 copies of Astrid. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. This deck is called Astrid Aggro, but all 3 copies of Astrid are in the sideboard. What's going on? It's a little trick of the mind. If I call my deck Astrid Aggro, people might be expecting it in my main board. It's actually not. It's I put it in there as a way to trick people up. And also, if the opponent's playing aggro, when we start game 2, I can throw Astrid in the main board to help get past their small citizens. And it also, I really like the art. I think the art's cool, and it has that discard effect if you're short on time, which is just one of my personal favorite effects. So, and the last 2 cards in the sideboard are 2 copies of Due Process. It adds that discard effect. I love the hand disruption. It's just, again, it's one of my personal favorite things to do. So I threw it in there as like my own way to spice up the deck. Originally, I was running 3 copies of Surveillance in all the Due Process spots, but I just really like the discard effect. Surveillance is really good too. It has Probe 2, and you can look at your opponent's 11-year row. You can flip over 2 of their 11-year row cards and kind of like kill them in the right order, which is like very good. Like that's great for tournaments. My thought process on this was I'm swinging with aggros anyway, so it doesn't essentially matter what 11-year row card I kill, but it really just depends on the matchup. I just wanted to throw citizens down, swing with them, and win the game as soon as possible. I didn't quite get there, but it was also a best of 1 match, so I had a lot of fun. It was a great time. Special shout out to my man Tanner. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to play in this tournament. It was such a blast. Everyone there was in such good spirits and just having a fun time, so it was really cool to be a part of that. Anyways, that's my tournament deck. If you want to see more Kryptik content on my channel, go ahead and leave a comment below. If I see enough comments, we'll probably keep some more videos of Kryptik TCG coming out. Lately, it's been hard to find the time to create these videos, but if you guys do want them, I can find that time. All right. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.